The other day, I was cracking my head trying to figure out Procreate Dreams when I stumbled upon a comment like this.
Bro, why don't you try ToonSquid? It's everything Procreate Dreams should be and more.
I'm like, ToonSquid? Never heard of it. Sounds fishy. Scrolling further, I see more comments about ToonSquid, which piqued my interest. So I went to the App Store to check it out and only 45 MB? Alright! It wasn't free though, but $10 for an app that potentially isn't a nightmare? I'ma check it out right now. Upon launching the app, you're presented with this new project thingy where you gotta select those basic settings for your canvas. Everything can be changed later on except the resolution, so be sure you configure your size before you proceed. I'll use the 1920x1080 HD settings, which I usually work on. First things first, ToonSquid does look like Procreate. The UI, buttons, layout and everything does somewhat resemble Procreate, so I figured I'd settle in nicely. See how clean it looks? On the left, there are the essential tools. You have the transform, selection, brush, eraser, smudge tool, fill tool, picker? Yes! And the text and pen tool. Nice! On the right, there's the color tool, standard color palettes where you can toggle between classic, color wheel, hex values and so on. Oh, there's the color picker here again. See that Procreate? That's how it should be. The layers tool is pretty easy to understand. Tapping the plus button opens up new layers or group layers, and you can tap on the layer to adjust some of those settings. What I found inconvenient was I can't tap the canvas to hide the layer menu. I thought it would be like Procreate, but oh well, you just have to tap the layers to hide it again. The other two buttons are the layer properties and delete button. There's also this really obvious undo and redo buttons. Newbies would love this. Right at the bottom or bottom right is the timeline button. Tapping on it brings out the animation timeline, which to my surprise looks pretty good. You know how I was complaining Procreate Dreams had some terrible timeline UI? ToonSquid's timeline feels much more intuitive and it doesn't cover up too much of the screen, at least from a first glance. Alright, I'ma load up the latest animation I was working on. ToonSquid kinda reminds me of Adobe Flash in the good old days of frame-by-frame tuning animation. One really cool feature is this library they have here where you can import your files and use them on your stage. I have my drawings nested together in a symbol. If you can see, it's 4 frames on loop, which I use the keyframe feature to move out of the canvas into the frame. The keyframe is pretty simple and easy to understand. Now if I want to make some edits to my drawings, I just have to double tap the canvas when I'm in the transform tool mode and it goes to that symbol where I can add layers or just draw and erase over the drawing. You can pinch in and out on the timeline and you'll go from FPS to seconds, so you know how long each frame should take. Again, depending on your style of animation, you can adjust the FPS accordingly. Another neat feature they have is the camera tool. If you're familiar with camera tools on Adobe Animate or After Effects, the behavior is somewhat similar, except that it's a rectangle outline box on the canvas. So my goal was to animate a scene where I'm half asleep and then I pause for a moment and suddenly realize I'm dreamwalking to get a cup of joe. That's where I do the camera zoom into my expression. So notice the rectangle outline is zoomed in to the exact position you saw in the preview. You can do that by inserting keyframes on the position and scale markers, which then you can pull the box to how close up your zoom needs to be. Super handy for 2D animations. Also, ToonSquid didn't crash on me like Procreate Dreams did to me on several occasions. I'd be working on something and then suddenly poof, it just hangs and crashes. Working in ToonSquid feels pretty smooth and relaxing. There's no delay or laggy movements whatsoever. The last thing I wanted to show you guys is the audio. If you've been following my videos, you know lip sync is a big part of my 2D animations, and having this neat feature in ToonSquid is really awesome. So go to the library, tap on audio clips, tap on the plus button and import your file from where you saved it, and ToonSquid will import the audio file onto your timeline at the very top layer. You can then test the audio file by dragging on the timeline or pressing the preview button to playback. Now, you can drag it to the position you want to create the voiceover. I'm gonna test it out on my character here, so let me just erase the mouth and recreate the vizims. Okay, so let's start drawing those lips. You can turn on the onion skin so you get a better view of the mouth position and add frames as you go along. Remember guys, I'm just testing this here right now and my mouths aren't really refined. I'm just showing you one of the methods to lip syncing. There is another way of importing your ready-made mouth vizims and sort of use them as shortcuts, but I won't cover it in this video because I haven't mastered that yet. Okay, so let's test it out.
It's 2024 guys, it's 2024.
Wow, seems alright. With more time, you can really create smooth voiceovers with this neat feature. Also, just to mention, if you change the FPS, your audio might not be synced with your animation, so it's best to do so before you start lip syncing. Otherwise, you'll have to touch up a lot on the vizims later on. So yeah, that's ToonSquid for me in a nutshell. If you ask me, it kind of feels like Paperclip plus Procreate, or everything I hope Procreate Dreams would be. What do y'all think about it? Let me know in the comments down below and I'll see y'all in the next one.